All right, everybody, 2020, we're hitting it. Now, this is about 2 weeks into the new year, and my background as a personal trainer will tell me that maybe not half, but pretty close to half of the people that set New Year's resolutions have already fallen off that. They're no longer working. And you just feel this kind of thought of like, man, I failed again. Well, this time let's do it a little bit different. There's a big reason why I'm not a huge fan of resolutions, because it's almost 100% failure rate. Our resolution is usually for a year. I mean, that's next to impossible. Let's make things work a little bit better. So I tend to not be a big resolution guy. Now, there's another reason I wanted to post this today, is because tomorrow is the National College Championship in football. And that's when my old year ends and my new year starts. I know that tomorrow for the big game, I want to have these snacks and treats and all kinds of good stuff. I may have a drink or two. That's the way I want to just end the season, end the year, and then pick it up and start again on Tuesday, feeling just kind of fresh and good. Now, if you guys started on the first of the year and already are kind of feeling that new year hangover and you just can't get over it and you feel like you've already failed, I want to tell you what has worked in my life and a lot of other people's lives to make them successful. It's not so much having this plan and it's just a full-on act of willpower. That might work for some people, but I'm telling you, the failure rate is pretty high and it takes a special person to have that. What works better is these day-by-day steps. So today what I want to talk about are what are some little things that I use to get through the day. And I'll tell you, over the last couple of years, I've become real big fans of like the silly little memes, the things that pop up on our social media and we're like, oh gosh, not another one of these rah-rah memes. But a lot of times you'll find one or two of those that just kind of click. They hit you, it feels right, it attaches to where you're at in your life at that time, and it goes on. So I'm really cool with those. When you find a meme like that, take a screenshot, put on your phone, and just use it for the day or two to get through. When it no longer is applicable, go on to the next thing, it's fine. The other thing I have is I really like day-by-day little reminders, maybe affirmations, things that kind of help push you. So today's video is gonna be about some of the best books that I have found that work for me. They really get your head right. It makes it not drudgery to go on day by day. So when you walk into my clinic, the first thing you come to when you walk into my front office waiting area, which only has a couple chairs, is this Dr. Peters must reads. There are some books that have been out there by some of the hardest hitting guys in the industry. Dudes that just really have a great way of packaging their product and getting it out there so that you can make these changes. Now, this idea of day-to-day getting through your world, and it's a way to improve your finances, a way to improve your nutrition, a way to improve your health. Probably the best book I've ever had in my life is The Slight Edge. It's by Jeff Olson. Now, The Slight Edge is not rocket science. He'll be the first guy to tell you, if you don't want to read the book, turn to page 13, you're gonna get the gist. But the thing is, the way he has packaged the new edition, it just goes through so many of the scenarios that you'll find in your day to work. It'll definitely be the most gifted book I will give out in my life. I have ordered hundreds of these things since I reread it about a year ago, and I have given them out to all kinds of people. It makes a huge difference for me. If you guys are all looking for stuff that will affect your life and your day today, do it. Now, of importance with The Slight Edge is the first time I read this book, I devoured it. I stayed up till about 2 in the morning. I read it in 2 days. I ate the thing up. It was one of those, dozen or so you'll find in your life that just changes your world and attacks you so much. Now, what I find myself more often is going back through his book and reading it pretty much a page or two at a time. Often I won't even get through a chapter. I'll read a page and it just hits me for the day. It keeps me on that positive mindset. I read it early in the morning before I even attack work, and it just changes the way I look at the world. Oftentimes it's one sentence. His stuff is that good. Now I have another book that also fits similar to that. This is Aubrey Marcus's Own the Day, Own Your Life. And I don't know Aubrey. I don't know any of these guys personally, but I did write him when this came out. And I said, the website, this idea that I'm working on, the way I want to build mine, was called Win the Day. Dude, not only did you beat me to it, you crushed it. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I think it is very little BS. it's just a great way to set up, here's why diet works like diet does. Here's why good sleep works like it does. Here's why just envisioning things positive. Now, Aubrey's kind of got a unique take. I don't know if you guys have listened to his podcast or stuff, but his book reads very, very different than how his podcast feels. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a different media that's going on. The way his book is written is so good, I use it for everybody. I have handed that book out to college kids. I've handed it out to grandmothers. It makes a big difference. And if you're looking for just, I don't want to have a system. I don't want to have a set plan that I have to follow day by day, and I can only eat like this, and I can only move like this, and I can only do these workouts, this is your guy. He discusses it very simple how you need to find you. And it's something I preach all the time. If you watched my last, Coastal Living TV show I was on, that's what the entire segment was about. You do you. Quit trying to find somebody else's plan. And I like the idea of win the day, or own the day, own your life, because when you own the day, it's just so easy to make it step by step. It's not overwhelming. It's not overburdening. You just get through it. So those two are definitely my top 2 recommendations. Other stuff I have up here is Tim Ferriss's stuff. Any of you guys that are like-minded, that have kind of found our website through this minimum effective dose. What's the most bang I can get for my buck? How can I do, 5% of the work and reap 95% of the effort? That's Tim Ferriss. That guy makes millionaires. That guy makes an entire industry. He's definitely the hardest punching dude there has been. Very interesting. Almost everything he writes has got some resonance to me. I love his stuff. And if there's any one person that I have not met personally that has changed my life, it's him. I don't know the guy. I would love to meet him and just shake my hand and be like, hey man, thanks for changing my life. His book about business probably saved me 20 hours a week on stuff that I was just wasting time on. His 4-Hour Chef book is pretty much, here's how to become world class at anything by just following a simple system. So if you guys aren't familiar with Tim Ferriss yet, you better find this guy. He is a monster in the industry, and really no self-respecting YouTuber or blogger or website guy that's in this kind of industry could even think about putting something up like this without talking about Tim Ferriss. I can't give that guy enough props. Jordan Metzel. Jordan Metzel's a monster. He is one of the guys that is really popular, like on the Dr. Oz's and on the Oprah shows, those kind of things. He's just got a great way of being a high-level medical doctor at a very prestigious hospital and setting and saying, guys, we're all idiots. Just work out, eat right, move your body. This is what changes your world. So if you need some of that in your life, I think his is the way to go. The coolest thing about him is when I first started getting more into this, I'm going to change the way I doctor. Instead of just being a chiropractor, I'm going to get out there and start getting more involved in health and getting more involved in people's lifestyles. He was one of the first to write me back and be like, yes, you can definitely mention me in your podcast. You can definitely mention me on your social media stuff. I love it. Let's get the word out. It's great for like-minded people. And I don't want to go onto this topic right now and kind of dive off here, but this idea of medical doctors and chiropractors and PTs and athletic trainers, and we all don't get along and we've got this different stuff, it's ridiculous. There are still some people fighting that battle or that war. It's not there. What's happening now is people that are involved in human performance and in life, we're all working together. We're all on the same thing together. And remember, the whole idea of this particular video I'm putting out on YouTube is just to get you guys the right idea. So we got Jordan Metzel's on there too. Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett. Also, this is the second edition. He's got a Supple Leopard, Ron one. He's got a couple different pictures and videos on here. Kelly's a PT who was very involved with CrossFit and really changed the entire industry. It just got away from, you have to come to the clinic to see us because we're the experts. We know all the secrets and the tips. And he's like, guys, we can do all this stuff at home. In fact, we can do it at a gym with a stretchy tube and balls. Much of the rehab to go stuff that you see on my page is going to be stuff that has been modified and has the same ideas. When I first got a hold of Kelly Starrett's book, it was one of my firefighters that brought it in, and I read that book, and it was kind of like what I did with Aubrey Marcus's Own the Day. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy beat me to it. And not only did he beat me to it, he did it at a much higher level and better than what I thought could have even been done. So if you guys are interested in home health stuff, if you've come to this page because you like the way I do it, I have some different wording stuff than Kelly Starrett does, but you cannot beat his stuff. He is one of the pioneers in this whole industry. And it's not, by saying that, I don't mean like he's old school. The guy's still very, very relevant. You can find any of his seminars and join his stuff. You are smarter 10 seconds after looking at some of the stuff that he's done than if you hadn't. On that same motion, this is an older book. It's been around for a while. This is The Unbreakable Runner. We have tons and tons of runners that come into my clinic. They want to know, why aren't they feeling good? Man, I just ran 60 miles this week. I don't understand why my body's breaking down. I just steer them this way. Now, let's get real with how Brian McKenzie functions. He's a no BS guy. You come to him and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. He's just like, yeah, man, it ain't gonna work. This puts it how it is. The basis on this is if you're not going to work out and make yourself stronger, then your running is going to falter, right? You cannot run a Ferrari engine on a Volkswagen chassis. You're just going to have to do some stuff to modify it. Now, he's dealing with one of the toughest clients in the industry. Hardcore runners, long distance runners, triathletes, they're bullheaded, man. They're stubborn. And then the backside of it, he's working with CrossFitters too, right? So you got some stubborn dudes that are just sure that their way is the only way. But if you'll take a time to look at this idea of putting fitness and conditioning and running, which all human beings should be able to run, putting that together with strength, you're gonna have a hard time beating that book. So I've literally sold hundreds of those books in my clinic. How many of those are being read by our type A runners and marathoners? Well, that's to be determined. But I would guarantee it's the guys that are winning the races and that are finishing at the top. Those are the guys that have their system figured out. And it's the difference between the guys that come limping into a finish line and can barely move and fall apart on the finish line versus the guys that run across the finish line, grab a beer and say, hey, another great run, huh? Good day to be alive. That's the difference his stuff will make. This is an older one, guys. Younger next year. Now, as you guys get to know me a little bit more on online version, I am huge into people that have made a fortune based on naming their product the best way, right? Younger next year, it just sounds good. I don't care what this guy would have pushed at me. I would have bought the book because the title is that good. But his information is great too. It's the idea that I push in my clinic all the time about if you just start and move forward, there's really no scientific basis that we just get older and quit. When your doctor tells you, hey, you're just getting a little older, why don't you not work out so hard? That's nonsense. You can change this thing so that throughout your life, you continue to get better. Now I'm gonna throw some old school out here. Jack LaLanne died in his 90s. The guy was still fit and healthy and buff and just cool. And when you talk to people that knew Jack personally, they basically said the same thing. The guy never got older. Now look, I'm bald. I've lost my hair. I've got a little gray specks that'll pop up then. I've got kids, I've got wrinkles, I laugh all the time. But if you ask me, how do I feel compared to my 20s, now that I'm in my 40s, I feel significantly better. I'm in way better shape than I was back then, despite being a college athlete. I lift almost as much as I did, and I lived in the weight room, and I lift a minimal now. That's the Tim Ferriss idea. I have done things in my life to help me feel younger every year. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to share there. So if that's your take, do it. Now on my younger next year, I'll tell you, he's got this basic version that's been out for ever, and they kind of revamp it every so often. He's got a woman's edition. He's got a day-to-day calendar. He's got all this stuff. This is the product. This is the whole thing. I still think this is the best book. The women's book kind of gets watered down a little bit. I think his wife must have said, hey honey, you can't say ass to a bunch of women. You gotta make it a little bit nicer and you're gonna work the glutes. This one just kind of cuts through it. So I love that book too. That should give you a huge start as to what direction you want to go. If you guys like this version of my YouTube and just the way I'm kind of sharing the information out, let me know below, because I also have this same setup with 10 or 12 different books like this that have made a huge difference in the diet world. So if you want to know more about keto or intermittent fasting, or who's the head honchos for primal living, who's the best ones for intermittent fasting, I have all that stuff too. And I do give those handouts and I give those books out a lot too. So just kind of let me know what you think about this flavor. I want you to have the ammunition to get yourself day by day through this. A year from now, let's come back and talk about this, and I want there to be a huge change. There's no backpack burden of this resolution that you have to keep. There's no reason that when you meet your family out in Vegas, you can't have a wild night and a few drinks and enjoy some fun and then get right back to it the next day. Let's stop with the fail or succeed, and let's just start getting better and better every day. That's what we're all about, and that's how we continue to make ourselves move forward. Enjoy the new year, guys. It's not just a new year, it's a new decade. This is the time where we make a change. Hey guys, Dr. Chad Peters back here again. If you like that content, if you like the way I deliver this stuff, or if you have questions about what was on, don't hesitate. Comment below and go through. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what you disagree with. Let's have a conversation. The entire idea with this is that we all get better when we start discussing things. I'll see you soon.